Why is it hard to fall asleep? Okay. Well, it turns out that sleep is regulated. There are two parts of your body that control sleep. One is a clock. Okay. It's just like it's a 24-hour clock, and it works a little bit like. You know what this is? If I held it up like this.
Metronome?
Some people call it a metronome. Is another name for it.
A clock, another big bong, the old-fashioned
Okay, who said it?
Pendulum.
David,
Pendulum.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like and you've seen in the old-fashioned clocks, grandfather clocks and so forth. You know, the pendulum swinging at the bottom of the.
So is the clock controlling the sleep, or is the pendulum?
Well, there isn't really a pendulum, okay, but there is a clock-like nucleus in the brain which goes back and forth about once every 24 hours, okay, just like that, and it's just very regular, okay. This is going back and forth every couple of seconds, right? But the clock in the brain goes back and forth very slowly once every 24 hours, okay? Very, very slowly, okay? So it just has very regular clock-like behavior, and people who are blind, okay, their clock, actually the clock has a period of about 25 hours, so people who are blind, sometimes they have a hard time sleeping because this clock runs at a period of about 25 hours, and means that every day they wake up an hour later, right? So one day they wake up at 8 a.m. and the next day they wake up at 9 a.m. and the next day they wake up at 10 a.m. So
Does that clock function in your brain have a particular name?
it's a big name,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you spell it?
Well, let's hear him say it first.
Yeah. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Okay, and and it's abbreviated to SCN.
The what?
Suprachiasmatic nucleus.
Yeah, we could get that from him on
Yeah.
email, so I don't
It's
think you need to
called the
spell it. Call it the
SCN.
SCN,
Yes,
and
SCN is the clock.
we'll get the
in your brain.
details later.
That makes sense. So much easier.
But I'll tell you, just because I know that they want to know, you know, that that nucleus, it sits right on top of where the nerves from the back of your eye cross and then go to the brain. You know what that is called? That little place where the nerves cross that go to the intersection? It's a chiasm. The optic chiasm. That's where the optic nerves cross and then they go to different parts of the brain. And this nucleus sits right on top of where those nerves cross. And so they call it the supra, or on top of, suprachiasmatic nucleus. Okay, so that's where that word comes from. Suprachiasmatic nucleus, okay? And the fact that it sits right on top of those optic nerves,
It's on top of where your eye meets your.
sort of where the optic nerves get into your brain. And it turns out that that clock is synchronized to sunrise and sunset, to light and dark cycles. And that's why your sleep-wake cycle is about 24 hours and not 25 hours, because light from the sun synchronizes that clock-like function, right? So everything gets synchronized to sunrise and sunset.
Even in the far north, like in Norway, where there's
Gets a
no.
little complicated.
Yeah.
But and not exactly, and those people have issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alaska. Yeah.
All right, so that's the clock, okay?
So it synchronizes with sunset.
Sunrise and sunset, yeah. All
Why
right.
do we have jet lag when we go to another country? Jet lag.
Jet lag?
Jet lag.
Jet lag, okay, so we're going to get to that, okay? I'll explain that. But this clock, it's just synchronized to the light-dark cycle, okay? And it turns out that with it going back and forth like that there's a certain part of the timing of that clock that we like to sleep. Okay? All right? So we can pretend here that this clock is associated with, say, body temperature. Okay, so our body temperature goes, right now, during the day, our body temperature is high, and about 12 hours later, about 4 a.m., 5 a.m., our body temperature is low. So here we are, middle of the afternoon, body temperature is high, and then when it gets down here, body temperature is low, and we tend to, we're all sleeping about that time, right? Is everybody sleeping here?
Hopefully.
2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4
So
a.m.?
once the day sort of ends and your body temperature goes lower, that's when it's easier for you to fall asleep.
Exactly. You got it. Exactly. Your body temperature starts to go down, and that's a signal for your body to fall asleep. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but that decrease in body temperature is a signal to your body to fall asleep. Okay? And then after 4 a.m. in the morning, 12 hours later, your body temperature starts to rise, and that's a signal for your body to start getting ready to wake up.
So if the temperature in your bedroom were doing crazy sort of temperature changes and getting hot, would you maybe wake up too soon?
Your temperature regulator would try to compensate for that.
Oh,
But if the temperature was too hot, you would have a hard time sleeping. And that's one of the questions that one of the students
Yeah.
asked is, what about weather effects and how they make you feel sleepy? Yes, so it's really good when you go to sleep in a cool room, because that helps to lower your body temperature. Your body wants to be cool. Okay, so that's the clock. Okay, that's the clock, and that clock is controlled by the suprachiasmatic nucleus in part of your brain. Okay, yeah.
Well, this happens to me sometimes. What happens when you wake up in the middle of the night? What compels your body to wake up in the middle of the night?
Well, just consider this again, okay? Because there's lots of reasons, okay, but if we were just talking about this, right? It could be because your body temperature has reached its lowest point and it's starting to rise. Body temperature is starting to go up.
Faster than it's supposed to.
No, it's just normal. Yeah, it's just normal. So the body temperature starts to rise, and so then you tend to, and so then you're aroused. You start to wake up, and that's normal biology. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay. There are other reasons. Okay, and we'll start talking about the other part of what controls sleep, and that's called the sleep homeostat. All right. Because all this does is control the timing of sleep, right? This is just controlling the timing of sleep, like when you fall asleep and when you wake up.
But what actually makes you fall asleep is something.
What makes you fall asleep? What makes you get tired during the course of the day? And what about the function of sleep? What about how it makes us feel if we sleep we get rested, and if we're awake for a long time we get tired? So all that part of sleep is controlled by what we call the sleep homeostat. Okay? So does everybody have any questions about the clock itself, the circadian clock? No? One question?
Oh, Japanese. You know how you said that weather affects the like the body temperature affects it?
Yeah.
People with fever sometimes have temperature.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why you wake up so much when you're sick.
Because your body is hot.
Because your
Yeah.
body is warm.
I never